Hello, test, testing, one, two, three. Okay, it is going on 9/11/2021, which is 20 years after that fateful day when when Fort Pontiac took out the lives of many Americans and some buildings and everything like that. And it's interesting. About a month or so before 9/11, I was at a party, and a discussion came up regarding risk. And somehow, the World Trade Towers came into discussion. And I thought about it, and it seemed to me that if I were to just go to the World Trade Center, it wouldn't be an issue. But if I were to work at the World Trade Center, it would be more an issue. It would be something that the risk would add up. And if I worked in the World Trade Center at some of the higher floors, I told the people I was with that I would get a ballistic parachute system and have it under my desk so in case something happened, I'd be out of there. And so that was kind of interesting, I thought. But then later on, I had to go to a meeting down in Nashville, Tennessee. And the night before, I was in New York City. I was in New York City, and I was returning some judges from my mother's Violetta DuPont opera competition. I returned them to New York. And on the news, on the way back, I'm hearing about how after 3 decades, they caught a man, Patrick Dolan Critton, C-R-I-T-T-O-N, he was 54. He was arrested and charged with the 1971 hijacking of an Air Canada flight on Thunder Bay to Toronto. He was arrested without incident, and he was a teacher. He was a teacher in the school system, and he was involved in a robbery up in Canada. Somebody was killed, and they hijacked the plane to Cuba. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and no one even brought up how the hell did he get back from Cuba to the United States. And I understand if you really have a will to do it, I guess you can do it. You can come on a boat or whatever. But somehow he had a documentation that he could work. Must have a social security number or something so he could work in the New York school system. I found that really a breach of security. Now this is the day before 9/11. Now you have to understand that prior to 9/11, the government put out a list of all the airports that had bad security. And one of them was Boston, and one of them was Newark. And it just so happened they chose those airports to do their hijacking. I believe out of Washington D.C. too. That was another. I don't know if that was on the list or not. Anyhow, so I thought that was interesting. But what was more interesting is as the date approached, and I had to attend this National Association of Plastic Distributors down in Nashville, I got a real fear of flying. I've never had that feeling before. I never thought my number was up. But on this particular moment of time, before a couple weeks before I had to be down here, I decided I was not going to fly. I was going to drive down. And that's what I did. I had a very unhealthy fear of flying. So as we know what happens, we don't even think, though, the odds that there happened to be a training maneuver going on with the government for such a thing on the exact day that such a thing was happening. Now, if you don't think that's suspect, I don't know, but they couldn't really use our resources to track down those airliners because they had all kinds of masking. They were simulating an attack by these airplanes um, used as a terrorist tool. So that's another interesting thing. The other thing is there was a couple days, well, a couple weeks later, turns out that Wesley Clark went into the Pentagon after it was struck by supposedly an airplane, and one of the generals who had taken over one of his positions there said, "You got to see this." And what do you mean I got to see this? Got to see this. And so General Wesley Clark was saying that the guy shifted over a piece of talking about how they were going to go in to 7 countries and topple the countries in 5 years. And it started, I guess, with Libya, Syria, and it basically the last one I think was Iran that they were going to take out. So they had this plan to go in and start picking off these countries in the Middle East prior to 9/11. So that should be something of interest. And also, it's interesting to note that Building 7, which was next to the 2 main towers, was hit by only slight debris of the aircraft, the 2 aircraft that hit the World Trade Center. And did something wrong. There we go. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So the building number 7 was announced that it had already fallen down. There was all kinds of very interesting information in that building. And it went down in a controlled fall. I mean, it was a big building. It was supposed to be fire resistant, the whole thing. They had a lot of sprinkler systems and all kinds of stuff. They didn't have 2 fire there. But for the whole building to collapse totally level meant that they had charges in that. As a matter of fact, they were on the phone with the owner of the building, and he said, "Pull it. Pull it means take it down." There's all kinds of insurance issues. There's all kinds of trading that was going on. People were selling short, buying short, whatever they call it, knowing that the airlines were going to take a hit prior to this event. Something really stinks on the whole 9/11. We can say how we warned the people that we lost. But then again, after the first hit, the other buildings started to evacuate, and everybody said, "No, you don't have to evacuate. You don't have to evacuate. Go back in there." I wonder what the casualty rate would have been had everybody in the other building gotten out before this thing took place. But then again, just like in the case of the COVID vaccine push, they want body counts. They definitely want body counts. As sick and sad as that sounds, the whole thing is suspect. They needed something to get into the Middle East. So I think I told you, basically I had apprehensions about flying. I drove my car down. I heard it unfold on the radio. And the most, I think, sad thing about it was when I got there, they talked about a film crew from France, talked about a fire company they went all over the city fighting little fires and stuff, and we've seen tremendous things. When they got to the World Trade Center, the film crew was going to follow these people in and the firefighters. No, no, you can't go in here. This is serious stuff. Too much risk. And that's the last they saw of those guys, and they never made it out. So the other thing you should be aware of in 1993, I believe, was that the FBI got some crazies who tried to blow up the World Trade Center, and they put a rental truck full of explosives in one of the parking garages. And the FBI knew about it. Not only did they know about it, they hired an Egyptian retired military man to be a go-between to get these guys what they needed to blow up the building. And he kept on asking, when are you going to swap the explosives for, benign powder? And they said, we'll get back to you on that. We'll get back to that. Well, they did. And bomb went off. It killed or injured, like about 1,000 people or so. I think only about 10 died. I'm not too sure. But the fact of the matter is, the FBI let this thing happen because they want things to happen so they get funded. And the New York Times did an amazing article on that whole aspect. So when you look at the FBI, just remember what they're capable of doing. Okay. Matter of fact, they tried to frame the Egyptian they hired to make him take the fall for the whole thing. Fortunately for him, he kept cassette tapes of all the going-ons between. He recorded everything that was said between him and the FBI. So instead of having this a major thing and having people arrested, it just disappeared. So that was very, very, very interesting. It goes to show, how deep these things go. There's something else I wanted to mention on this thing. I guess I said enough, but nothing has changed. Meantime, our whole country got in debt with the whole process of arming up and getting these terrorists. And right now, I know what I want to tell you. Before this thing happened, they arrested a guy who was taking flight lessons. And he was one of the guys that would have been on one of the planes. But they caught him ahead of time, and they wouldn't let the FBI look in his computer to see what he was up to. They said that was private information. Now, come on. You buy that? They always can have an excuse that the kid told you that you'd slap them. Say, what do you think? I'm an idiot. So, there's something really stinky about the whole situation. If they wanted this thing to go down, they didn't want it interrupted. They hit the papers of the Saudi Arabians connection with most of the pilots and crew, and they were aided by Saudi Arabia. God knows why. But that was held. I think Trump finally got that information out. They tried to hide that stuff. So anyhow, what can I say? Just follow the money. Always follow the money. And let's hope we get to the bottom of the truth of this whole COVID thing, which is getting more bizarre by the second. And like I said, I'm gonna head out to my land in Texas to try to stop it. And this is like Escape from New York City. I'm telling you. What these people do, and the people who are already vaccinated, a lot of them are into this. They turn into these people like the invasion of the body snatchers. They like, I guess, with comfort in the fact that if everybody's infected with these damn vaccines, I guess it's a better thing. I don't know. Something sinister is going on. China's getting away with whatever they did with their first apparent bioweapon delivery system. And who knows how many boosters? They're going to have us taking boosters, I guess, until they kill us all. But they'll keep on taking booster shots, and I'm not going to take them. And they won't even allow us to have, HCQ and ivermectin and a couple other things to survive this. If we get it, they don't want us to survive. It's to die. They won't give us the tools to survive. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet of these lovely people who care about it? Anyhow, God bless America, and hopefully our senile president would be replaced legally by someone who is a little more competent. Who knows where that's going to go? Take care.